Imagine a world where the ground itself weeps blood, where young men full of dreams are reduced to broken shells in an instant, bodies piling up in trenches, rotting under relentless rain, their stench a constant reminder of hopelessness. This was the First World War, a catastrophe that claimed over 16 million lives, leaving behind a trail of widows, orphans, and shattered homes. But from this abyss of suffering comes a vital lesson. War solves nothing. It breeds only more pain, more loss. It turns nations into graveyards and families into fragments. As we delve into this dark chapter, remember, the true cost of conflict is paid in human souls. Let us learn, lest we repeat the horror. Europe in 1914 was a powder keg of nationalism, imperialism, and tangled alliances. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo ignited the fuse, pulling empires into a vortex of destruction. What began as a regional dispute exploded into a global war. Enthusiastic crowds cheered as soldiers marched off, believing it would be over by Christmas. How wrong they were. This naivety underscores our lesson. Pride and unchecked ambition lead not to victory, but to unimaginable devastation. The war's early months saw mobile warfare, but by late 1914 both sides dug in along the Western Front, a 400-mile scar stretching from the North Sea to Switzerland. Trenches became the new reality. Narrow ditches of mud and despair, where soldiers lived like rats in a sewer. Here, the true horror unfolded. Constant shelling turned landscapes into lunar wastelands. Men huddled in fear, waiting for the next barrage that could bury them alive or shred them to pieces. The hopelessness was palpable. Advances were measured in yards, paid for in thousands of lives. Bodies piled up in no man's land, unburied for days, their limbs frozen in grotesque poses, invoking silent screams to the heavens. Rats feasted on the dead, growing fat and bold, scurrying over sleeping men. Lice infested every uniform, spreading disease and an itch that drove soldiers mad. Trenchfoot rotted flesh from the constant wetness, leading to amputations without anesthesia. And the smell. Oh, the unrelenting stench of decay, cordite and human waste. It clung to everything, a fog of futility. In these hellish confines, hopelessness reigned. Soldiers wrote home of the slough of despond, where mud swallowed men whole, their cries echoing unanswered into the night. One British officer recalled corpses being used to shore up collapsing walls, a macabre practicality in the face of endless death. Shell shock shattered minds. Men trembled uncontrollably, haunted by the invisible force of explosions that left no visible wounds but destroyed the spirit. They stared with dead eyes, reliving the horror of seeing comrades blown apart, their entrails spilling into the muck. This was no heroic charge, it was survival in a meat grinder. And yet, the lesson screams through the chaos. War's machinery devours the innocent, leaving only echoes of what could have been prevented through dialogue and reason. The Battle of Verdun in 1916 epitomized the war's senseless slaughter. For 10 long months, French and German forces bled each other dry over a few square miles of desolate ground. The result? Over 700,000 casualties, dead, wounded, or missing. Bodies piled up in heaps, half buried in shell craters filled with rainwater that had turned red. Soldiers waded through the gore, their boots sticking to decaying flesh. A profound sense of hopelessness set in as neither side gained any meaningful ground. It was attrition, pure and brutal. Then came the Somme, Britain's bloodiest day. On July 1st, 1916, nearly 57,000 British soldiers fell in just a few hours, mowed down by machine guns as they advanced into no man's land. The wounded cried out for help, but retrieving them often meant certain death for the rescuers. Bodies lay rotting under the sun, a grim testament to futility. Back home, widows received telegrams, their worlds collapsing into grief. Orphans wandered the streets, fatherless and forgotten. This devastation teaches us a stark lesson. No territorial gain can ever justify the ocean of tears it creates. The war's tentacles reached far beyond the front lines. Civilian deaths soared to nearly 7 million from starvation, disease, and bombings. Entire towns were leveled, leaving millions homeless, forced to scavenge in the rubble for survival. In Europe, 5 million widows struggled to get by on meager pensions, often forced into hard labor or poverty. 9 million orphans faced a world without parents, their innocence stolen by a conflict they didn't start. An estimated 10 million people became refugees, displaced and desperate. On top of all this, the Spanish flu, exacerbated by wartime conditions, claimed millions more lives, turning hospitals into charnel houses. Families were torn asunder, homes reduced to ashes. This was the true devastating face of war. Hopelessness wasn't confined to the trenches. It infected entire societies, breeding resentment that sowed the seeds for future conflicts. The lesson is clear. War's ripples destroy generations. Peace builds them. By November 1918, sheer exhaustion forced an armistice. The toll was staggering. Over 8.5 million soldiers dead, 21 million wounded. The Treaty of Versailles was meant to bring peace, but instead planted seeds of bitterness. The war to end all wars had failed, ultimately leading to an even deadlier sequel. The bodies were no longer piling up in trenches, but the scars remained, physical, emotional, and societal. As we reflect on the First World War's horrors, the bodies piling up, the endless hopelessness, the widows and orphans left in ruin, let its lesson resonate through time. Devastation is war's only true legacy. Let us choose diplomacy, empathy, and unity. For in the face of such suffering, peace isn't just an option, it is our salvation, lest we forget. Thank you for watching.